is The Traitors.
The Traitors is a 2021 Dutch TV show, and many of you have probably gone, if I hit the right video. That's how it started. Before the BBC took it up in 2022, that was the original version. And I'm not going to talk about the Dutch version because I've not watched it. I'm not an expert in that. But I'm going to talk about the 5 series, because that's the word we use over here in the UK. I know Americans tend to use seasons. I'll probably use them interchangeably if I'm honest. But like I say, 5 series of the show, including the celebrity version. It's going to be a light sort of social, psychological analysis, mainly because that's the entire reason I was watching the show. The module lead said it's a really good show to look at some of the social psychology elements. We even played a version of Werewolf in class, and I gave it a go. And I'm just sorry that I sat on it for, 4 years before watching it, because I was hooked. So let us start with Series 1. This, of course, sets the ground, the foundation for everything that comes after. Yes, things were changed, new things brought in, things removed, all that kind of stuff. But this was really what is The Traitors. And even if you were familiar with the Dutch version, even if you've played Werewolf or Mafia or any game of that ilk, Among Us, this is The Traitors. It's its own thing. So even if The Traitors knew about all that, they were basically the original version, which made it probably easier for them, I would say. From Series 2 onwards, everyone knew what Alyssa, Amanda, Wilf and Kieran had done, and were trying to think, how do I not do that? But these guys came in, they were the originals, and we saw things like people being thrown under the bus, people being recruited literally as a scapegoat, which is genius. You've got heat on you, as they keep saying in the show, that's how they refer to it. You've got all this pressure, this attention on you, and you're like, how do I get rid of that? I can seduce a faithful. I can try and recruit. I'm going to recruit someone who's got heat on them, especially when you've got the ultimatums. That was an interesting wrinkle. Because it's like, you either join me or you're gone. And many people, and this is a general thing throughout the whole thing, many people given that ultimatum, their defence was, I had no choice. And you hear it a lot. I had no choice. You always have a choice. It might not be an easy choice. Like going out of the game now, or potentially going out tomorrow night because I'm not used to acting as... I'm not used to being a traitor acting as a faithful, I'm just used to being a faithful. So are people going to notice that shift, plus the heat that's already on me? Am I just basically just buying another night? And they always chose to stay in because that chance of the money. This is where it gets interesting, because incentives do change everything. If you have no goal, if it's just a bit of fun, you'll be like, do you know what? Yeah, fine. I'm a traitor, whatever. You'll own it. You'll laugh it off. You'll go, oh, I could have been better. When you are talking thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, you're going to do everything you can to get a slice of that pie. And that's why I think it's very devious, almost Machiavellian, I'd say, to have people in just literally to throw them under the bus a day or two later. But I respect it in a weird way. I totally understand where it comes from. But like I say, I absolutely respect Wilf's journey on this. He played the game well. And this series also introduced a thing that was quite common throughout, even in the celebrity version, and that's pre-existing connections. In this we had Tom and Alex, a couple who hid their relationship as long as possible. And we saw the thing of betrayal coming to the fore. Even just someone was keeping a secret was enough to make people suspicious, because why are you hiding things? What else are you hiding? We often attribute that. We say that if you're lying about X, you must be lying about A, B, C, D, E, F, G as well. Not true. You might be lying about a certain thing because it doesn't help you now, but everything else you've been absolutely honest in. But once you are tarred with that brush as a liar, you're stuck there. And like I say, every year people did this trick, and I don't understand it, but it is what it is. So this, like I say, laid those ground rules. It had some interesting elements. But Series 2 for me was one of the most heartbreaking. We had some very interesting traitors in this. We had Ash, who really just didn't do the job very well. I would almost say she's the worst traitor if I hadn't seen Series 4 yet. We had Paul, who, again, just... there was a hubris, there was arrogance. Every time that he did something and got away with it, he was giddy. And I'm surprised that no one spotted it sooner, let's be honest. But we also had Harry. And I don't want to say I hate Harry, because I think that's extreme, and obviously this is a game. It's it's reality TV. It's been edited to sell a narrative, and I'm sure there's other things that we didn't see that take it a very different direction. I'm under no illusion. But what he did to Molly was completely, to me, unreasonable. He had this girl in his pocket throughout. So when they were there at the end, the final two, everyone else, they were just getting rid of them. And then she was there just like, if you're a traitor, I'm going to be so betrayed and I can't take it. And of course, he won the entire £95,150 on his own. The only non-celebrity game to end that way. And Molly seemed crushed and absolutely justifiable in my eyes. I really did not like how he handled it. And yet he's a young guy, and I totally understand it. But he built connections with so many people and just threw them to the wolves. He's I guess, friend Johnny, like they shared the solidarity of military service. Easily discarded. I mean, yes, he did say he was upset when he went, but it didn't matter to him because it was just another step, someone else out of the game, so that he can win the final round. But of course, in this one, we had Ross and Diane. And everyone believed that there was going to be a similar thing again of a relationship. And they thought mother-son this time. And they were saying, like, it's got to be Diane and I think it was Paul because Irish people have red hair. Weird justifications. And of course, Ross is there all along just like, well. But when he was recruited, it was very interesting. Because the traitors took out his mum. Whilst it isn't actually murder, there is no real death. There is a sense of that, I guess, a mini grief there. He wanted to perhaps go all the way through with his mum, share the prize with that. Would be lovely. A noble goal. But he was recruited as much as anything so he could go, you're the ones who did it. And I respect that a lot. But like I say, Harry was the one at the end, walking away with the entirety, and I was sick to my stomach. I was not happy about that at all. I don't even want to talk about that anymore. I just want to move on now to Series 3. Because this, whilst Harry was absolutely unlikable, I found this had much more unlikable people. There were so many more that I was like, I don't know if I can like you that much. So many people just hateful. Now in this one, I'm going to get the family connection out of the way first. We had Armani and her sister Maya. And of course, clever idea. One was a traitor, one wasn't. Because you're going to have a sister who knows how her sister normally acts. So she's going to see those things. And is obviously going to react to it. But this had some interesting moves, shall we say. Because so many people were suspecting various people throughout. We had Charlotte being suspected pretty much from point one. Freddie was suspected early on as well. Because he was happy about the thing on the pontoon because people were not playing the game right and focusing on the shields rather than bringing up the cash prize. So to bring those in as traitors kind of makes sense. But they were acting so, again, Machiavellian in this. People were brought on as traitors literally as cannon fodder. I kind of respect it, like I say. You've got to understand, like, they've done really well there. But it just... The people in this, I think, were pretty much the most unlikable. I mean, I'm happy for Jake and Leanne for winning, but even they weren't amazing. Like Leanne with hiding her past as, ex-military herself and saying she's just like a beautician. Why? What is the point of that? Yes, you won the game. You shared in that prize pool, but what was the whole purpose of that? It just didn't make sense to me. She could have come on as military and just been like... Because she was having to hamper herself. But I think it's because, there's so many times that secrets have come out, about family connections, all this. and people start to maybe think that's how you play the game, go in with a bunch of secrets. But that's not what the game is. People are now making their own rules. People have seen things happen in the past and think that's that part of it. By design, or by how it's constructed, that is not an integral part. You don't have to have secrets. The production team love it because it creates drama, of course, but it's not a requirement. But like I say, it's just something that continued. But off the back of this, the various celebrities who appreciated the show, seemed interested in it, some of them massive super fans, maybe reached out to Claudia, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past some of them. But we ended up getting a season of celebrities. And this really doubled down on connections. People often knew others, whether it be through professional links, perhaps like say with Alan Carr and Jonathan Ross, who've done a load of various comedy panel things. But you've also got Alan Carr and Paloma Faith, who know each other and get on well and quite friendly. And the fact that Alan was chosen as a traitor and killed Paloma Faith at pretty much point one was interesting, but the guilt of it hung over his head throughout. I could talk about the ups and downs of Jonathan being a bit too glib, again the hubris of Paul almost coming back in some ways. I could talk about the respect for Stephen Fry that made a lot of people probably wary about voting for him. I can talk about how I've never heard of Kat before, but I think she was great. I could talk about a lot of these things, but one of the real things, that would be something that, if I was doing a massive video essay, absolutely. But one of the real things I want to talk about here, like the two main ones, and one's really obvious because it's about the end, but the other one was Joe Marler. As far as I'm aware, he didn't really have any pre-existing connections going in. So he went in, straight away, Joe Wilkinson, again, guy I absolutely love. He saw him and was like, it's another Joe. We both have similar ways of thinking about this game. We're both trying to kind of put the pieces together, and they formed a good bond. I think a stronger bond than either of the Joes had with other people. There was this weird solidarity of the Joes. And when I was thinking about this video and talking about that a bit, I was like, this is very much attachment theory, in a sense. He has come in, no idea what he's doing. He's got no ties, and he's from a team background. He's a former rugby player. So he's used to working together in a group. He needs people around him. That's how he's thrived. So he finds someone and boom, now he's got that secure attachment. He's got someone there that can be like a support for each other, as long as neither of them are traitors and hiding it. But he really made that connection. He was so filled with rage when Joe W was taken out. From that point, his tenacity, his ferocity, and his drive to just root out a traitor were kind of commendable in some ways. Like, he was really on top of it. But it was, I guess, a form of grief, weirdly. He'd lost his main connection there. He now felt isolated. And he hadn't built many connections with other people because some of them you just didn't know. And so, yeah, he was really drilling into the traitors. He really just wanted to take them down. He was so frustrated. And actually, I know I said like I wasn't going to talk about like everyone, but Mark Bonner, I've loved that guy. I think he plays, as he said himself in his intro, he plays like, I don't know, abrasive people very well because he's Scots, and there's something about Scots people, they can play that very well. But he's such a kind, lovely soul, and he was struggling in there. I'm kind of glad he was taken out, relatively early. I think he was starting to struggle. But one of the things I noticed, one of the claims made against him, as clearly he must be a traitor, is his emotional reaction. He hit the table when he didn't get it right. He was frustrated, and people were like, oh, that was a bit melodramatic, you're an actor, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember which traitor it was. It might have been Jonathan, because Joe Marler was absolutely like a dog with a bone. It's got to be like the big dog theory. So it might have been with Jonathan. He did the same thing. It was in, not frustration, but in joy, but he still hit the desk. Why is that different? And no one ever called him out on it. That's one of the things that really, I couldn't understand that. But now I think about it after the fact, it does make a bit of sense. Hitting the table like, oh, you could be overacting, like, oh, we didn't get one out. But joyous slapping of the table, people hugging, things like that, it's a normal thing, this over exuberance. I guess that's why no one questioned it. But it just, there was a hypocrisy to me there. But of course, we can't talk about the celebrity series of the Traitors without talking about Alan Carr at the end. This is one of the things that unfortunately I found out before watching it, and I would have loved to see the reveal live, as it were. But when he cries, he's like, I'm a traitor and I've won it, and he starts weeping. That, to some, may be like, what are you crying for? And it's not, oh, you know, I killed Paloma. It's nothing like that. It's relief. Have you ever been so frustrated about something? You're so angry, you've got fire in your belly, but you start crying because you need a release of that emotion, and you can't hit something, so the tears come. Or, you know, something has happened and you're not sure it's gonna work out, and it does, and you have those tears of joy. It's not too dissimilar. There was a cognitive dissonance there. There was a clash. Alan loves Paloma Faith, gets on with a lot of the other people in the castle, but he's had to lie, cheat, and steal effectively, you know, his way to the end. Those tears at the end were literally just tears of joy, of survival, and I understand it entirely. I've never really liked Alan Carr before. I'm going to be open about that. There's something about his comedy style and things like that that has never really gelled with me. But seeing him on Celebrity Traitors, I've gained a new respect for him. I really do see him in a more positive light. And I totally, again, empathise with the ending there. But we're going to wrap this up with Series 4 of the main show, I guess Series 5 technically overall, which is the most recent one as of me recording and sending this out into the world. And this one really made me go in a load of different directions. My emotions were up, down, left, right. It was a journey, because people have now again seen like the Traitors. They've seen the Celebrity one and all of that, and you know, they've seen the series before. People are starting to figure out how to play the game in unique ways. Again, nothing is written in the rules about this, but it's the interesting elements people are bringing to it. But we had a load of secrets in this one. We had more connections in this one, and I think that was a good move. Maybe after the Celebrity one, there were like more than just, you know, a father-son, a mother-son, or, you know, a couple. We want more here. So we had people hiding their job roles, like Leanne did, you know, a former barrister, just not letting that slip, a former detective, not letting that slip. We had people who had family connections. We had Roxy and her adoptive mother, Judy. All of this, there was so much going on here where people knew each other, or, you know, people were hiding things. And you had Harriet being really dogmatic, which was her undoing at Rachel. We had Hugo really dropping the ball, and in fact reminded me of Hugh Bonneville. It was really weird. I don't know if anyone else has seen that. My partner did, because we've seen Downton. I don't know, Hugh Bonneville? And let me know in the comments about whether you think that is accurate or if I'm just making it up. But why he did that whole toast of breakfast is beyond me. It was his undoing. It made it a lot easier for the secret former barrister to pick him apart, because she knows how a barrister should look and act. Now, obviously in a courtroom, you do control the room, and maybe he didn't think to change how he approached things. He was still treating it like a barrister would. I don't know. But it really was his undoing. But from that point, everything changed, because when the game started, there were 4 traitors, which is not normal. It's generally been 3. So there was a 4th traitor, a secret traitor. This was an interesting shake-up, and I was very interested in how it would go. I wish it would have carried on longer, but maybe in future series they might find a way of doing this. So we had lovely little Welsh lass, I say lass, she's older than me, Fiona, as this secret traitor, and her role was she'd give a short list of potential victims. So they couldn't just go anyone, it was literally tailored. You can choose these 3 or whatever. And of course you start to, as the traitors go, who is the secret traitor? Who, like, trying to figure out, they're telling us to kill these people, what does that mean? But when Hugo went, they got the opportunity to effectively bring the secret traitor down to their level. Now, one of the things I did note for this, in every previous series, Celebrity One included, the traitors are effectively the highest authority. I know Claudia is controlling the game overall, but for the day-to-day, and, you know, for people going out, especially through the not the banishment, the murders, the traitors really are in control. And that's where I think a lot of the hubris, say, of Paul and things like that have come from. we're in control of this game. That control was taken from them for Series 4. That's what I think solidified Stephen and Rachel's relationship. As soon as Fiona was brought down, she was feeling that same thing that they'd have, as like, well, we're not the top dog anymore. Traitors in the previous games were top dog, why aren't we that? Why have we got someone above us? The Faithfuls have always had this common goal. It's always been a case of, we need to work together to get the prize pool up. Yes, of course, everyone's working for that, Traitors included, but we need to root those traitors out so we get that pool. Even if it's shared between 10 of us. If we've got no traitors in the game, we get it. If one traitor exists, we don't, so we need to be rid of them. The traitors, of course, are not part of that mission. So they are exempt from that common goal, and that's where you find the divide in behaviour. Now, with the secret traitor, you have a common goal in the Faithfuls, and a more meaningful common goal. Because yes, the traitors had a common goal, get rid of as many Faithfuls as possible, so they're in the end. But it's a small group, and there's more chance for one voice to be more prominent. When you've got 10 people in a room, you get that diffusion. 3 people is harder. Like Harry, they probably want to be that person at the end who walks away with just the entire prize pot. But Fiona was the cat among the pigeons. And when she came down, she had that same response of, I no longer am at the top. I'm slumming it with the normal traitors. I mean, it's still better than being the faithful, you could argue, but she didn't like that. And she was trying to throw Rachel to the wolves. I don't like how she reacted with Amanda's revelation to Rachel. I think that was a sign that... well, I think to me that's what helped me think about this idea. The fact that the loss of control made her quite bitter. She no longer had full rights over who gets murdered. It's by committee now. How dare they? So when Amanda revealed something to Rachel, which we saw, we know that happened, Fiona's frustration, anger, whatever it might be, made her paranoid. I'm like, why would she say that to you? Why? Why wouldn't she say it to me? She should say it to me, surely, because she knows that I've got history. You know, my family's all police. Did she know that? I don't remember seeing that on the show. Now, they might have had conversations that we didn't see, fine, or I might have misremembered. But she's not going to tell you just because you have a similar background. She might think you're a traitor. She's going to tell people that she can trust. So just because she trusts Rachel, you feel put out. And this is what really was Fiona's undoing. She went too hard in on Rachel and made herself really obvious, and they got her out. And that was the best thing to happen. Because the end of this game gave us something really unusual. The fact that both I and my partner mentioned it, I think, says how unusual it is. The fact that Stephen and Rachel shared £95,750 between them. 2 traitors won. Traitors who are meant to be these malicious, controlling, trying to screw everyone else out of the money kind of people. But because they had a common enemy in Fiona, she actually made them come together. And I think that is the most beautiful way this series could have ended. Because this isn't a game about friends. This isn't a game about being nice. This is a game about coming out top. You know, on top. For the Faithfuls even, technically, there's an element of that. They want to root out, yes, the traitors, of course. But if there's still less people at the end of the game, and they get to share it between just another person and them, that's not a bad thing either. You know, that's much nicer. Would you want to share... You know, would you want like £10,000 if it was, say, 100,000 on the prize pool and there's 10 of you? Or would you like 50,000? So everyone's in there for the most money possible. But the traitors more so, because there's so few. And like I say, the fact that 2 traitors won the last one kind of gives me hope for humanity, I'm not going to lie. And I'm really eager to see if some of these things are brought forward into the next celebrity one or into the next sort of main series. But those are my thoughts on the Traitors, and you know, I've really enjoyed coming back to a more analytical approach. Yeah, it's a light psychological analysis, but it's given me that rush again. Just reviews are fine, and I don't hate those, but I think with focusing on the degree and everything like that, I've kind of been like, I haven't got time to analyse stuff. And I've really enjoyed taking the psychological knowledge and applying it to something that I've really enjoyed watching. So yeah, I'm up for doing more. I've got a list already of various reviews and stuff, but It's an ever-growing list. Feel free to add to it in the comments below. And like I said before, do you think Hugo reminds you of Hugh Bonneville, that you may probably know from Downton Abbey? Please let me know all that in the comments. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching. Take care. And be careful of the people around you.